1159 or on our national toll-free line at 866-219-0082. Email the show at studio@sportstalkcleveland.com.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Now, here are your hosts, Larry McBride, Frank Greentham, and Jeff Shudell.
Good evening, Browns fans, and welcome to the post-thrashing edition of the Orange and Brown Report radio program. My name is Barry McBride. I am the publisher of the Orange and Brown Report, proud to be your host over the next 2 hours as we talk Cleveland Browns football on this, the only radio program insane enough to talk Cleveland Browns 52 weeks a year. Here with me, as always, from the Lake County News-Herald, a man who brings to bear over 20 years of coverage experience covering the Cleveland Browns. It is Mr. Jeff Shudell. How you doing, Jeff?
Good, Barry. I'm glad. In the way I'm glad this is on Thursday so we could spend most of the night looking forward to Sunday rather than looking back on what happened there in the opener.
It was certainly a little bit painful on Sunday. We'll get to that in a second. First, however, let me introduce my other co-host from the Orange and Brown Report, another man who brings over 20 years of experience covering the Cleveland Browns to bear. It is Mr. Fred Greentham. How you doing, Freddie?
Yeah, we're doing good. You know, you say 20 years. It's been a long time since I've seen a good team.
Unfortunately,
like 89.
It has been a while. And let's go over the gruesomeness from last Sunday. 5 turnovers, 35 yards rushing from their number one running back, and a complete meltdown by the team's starting quarterback yielded a 34-7 trouncing at the hands of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers jumped out to a 17-0 lead in the first quarter, capitalizing on a muffed punt by substitute punter Paul Ernster, and that turnover ultimately yielded a 5-yard Roethlisberger to Hines Ward pass. Following a field goal, the Steelers stepped on the Browns' necks after another turnover with a 40-yard Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes touchdown pass, and it was 17-0 in the first quarter. Charlie Fry, starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns as of that time, started the game 4 for 10 for 34 yards, 5 sacks, an interception, and was lifted quickly for Derek Anderson. Anderson was comparatively better, finishing 13 for 28 for 184 yards and a touchdown, although he was sacked and had an interception as well. All right, Jeff and Fred, let's get down to it. First of all, let me just ask you, would you ever have expected this sort of start, Jeff Shudell?
No, Barry, I thought the Steelers would win, but I thought it would be a close game. And I cannot believe, first off, I didn't see any fire in that football team. That's what disappointed me as much as anything else. I mean, yes, they made that error in the beginning of the game, but I saw nothing to make me think it was an aberration, because there was nothing, no fight on either side of that football.
They looked totally lacked and organized. They didn't, besides not having fire, they just didn't look like they were ready to play. And I don't know how all the meetings, all the OTAs, all the mini camps, all the practices, all the two-a-days, you go out there and play like you were like, man, what a day. Do we have a game today? You know, they just...
They just showed up last Monday and said, hey, guys, you know, if you can make it, we're going to have a practice because we have a game in 6 days.
That was reminiscent of the 99 when they had no talent and they got beat 43-0, you know, and this is a 9th-year program. Obviously, it's had three restarts, but not very impressive at all. You know, and then I'm sure we'll talk about the quarterback, but I remember...
We're back on the Orange and Brown Report radio program. Yours truly, Barry McBride, here with Jeff Schudel and Fred Freedom, careening into our final segment of the program. Let's go straight to email. We've got a bunch of them, and we've got some chat room questions as well. This is from Dog of War in Worcester. He says, who could be the star on this team? I think Bodden could shut down Johnson. Antoine, if he plays, and Wembley could get to Palmer. The question is, who can stop Rudy? Please give me some hope we can win. I don't know. We could always give you hope that we could win. Whether we can realistically say that the Browns should be favored going into this game is another question. But Rudy Johnson, the Baltimore Ravens did slow him down last weekend. He got 50 yards. He killed your fantasy team?
I don't even take Bengals, Steelers, or Ravens, but I had to take him because he was left. Everybody else passed him in the second. And he did nothing last week, so I don't want him to do a lot, but I like him to get some yardage between, catch some passes, but shut down everybody else.
I don't know. I think that
he killed them the last couple of years.
Actually, that 30-0 game, he only had 65 yards. But I just think that it's going to be tough stopping those receivers.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Rudy Johnson did very well against us in the first game last year. But in the second game, we were able to slow him down. But it didn't help any because we lost 30-0 anyway.
And the Browns had worse matchup problems, it seemed like, with the Bengals than they did like Pittsburgh or Baltimore because of last year, the secondary. But if they can't get some pass rush and stop the run, I don't see how they're going to slow down the Bengals on offense.
There's a lot of defensive linemen who are out there who are ex-Cleveland Browns still, and Michael Myers is managing to play for the Cincinnati Bengals. At some point,
Amon Gordon starts for the Broncos.
Amon Gordon. Antonio Garay made a NFL roster this year.
Bears,
and, so the question is, did we clean house too much back in 2005 in retrospect? Hey, let's go to this next email. This is Mike from Tucson, Arizona. He says, what's your guys' opinion on this? How long should a head coach get to put a competitive team together? And what record defines competitive? What's a break-even point between years of service and team record? In other words, how long can you give it? How long should you go before you start expecting results from your head coach?
Well, I think that it's how you're playing and so forth. You think of years like back in Kozar's rookie year when I think they were 8-8. You kind of knew they were on the upswing because the way they played down the stretch. This team hasn't ever really got, better as it keeps going on.
Night game, and we managed to beat them later on that year. We managed to get a couple of victories. Could be interesting. Let's see how this team bounces back against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Did we get a score from you in this game, Barry? Fred told you his, I told you mine. What is your score?
27-17, Cleveland Browns win. It's a stunner. It's a shocker. And I'm not just saying...
And you're from Homer, Ohio.
I get more subscriptions. I know.
Oh, boy, I tell you, I want to see this team win so badly. I know everybody from Randy Lerner on down does. It's going to be a very tough weekend. Let's hope for the best, Cleveland Browns fans. Thank you to everyone who emailed into the program. Jeff and Fred, thank you as always.
Great, Barry, and I think I'm not here next week, so I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks. We'll have Fred and Lane back here next week, and we will talk to you about what happened against the Cincinnati Bengals next week on the Orange and Brown Report radio program.
Come on, join us. We'll see you.